And she said, Zig, she said, I believe this woman thinks she's got an impossible problem, but I believe you can solve that problem with her in just a few minutes if you will spend that time with her. I said, well, Laurie, tell her to meet me backstage. I'll get there about 10 minutes early. My schedule was such that was about all I had. Well, I got there, and I was on backstage behind the curtain on one side. She spotted me from the other side, and as she walked across the stage, I have never seen as much anger in a human being in my life as I saw in her. She almost started crying when she saw me. She said, oh, I'm just so glad to see you. I got this horrible job. I hate it. I hate everything about it. I hate everybody down there. I mean, you talking about negative nails, she was it. She said, can you help me? Now, understand, I've only got about 10 minutes. So I looked at her, and one thing I have learned, I don't do counseling, but I talk with a lot of people who do, in psychology, psychiatry, and the ministry. And they tell me that everybody who comes to you with a problem are not necessarily looking for a solution. I couldn't understand that for a long time. Why do they bring you a problem if they don't want to solve it? Well, I can tell you why. They want to tell you about it, you about it, you about it, you about it, and you about it. And if you foul up the deal and solve the problem, they can't tell you again, you again. They want the attention that goes with the problem, and every company just about it has that kind of an individual. They want the attention that goes with griping and complaining. Well, I looked at the lady, and it wasn't unkindly, but firmly I said to her, yes, and you know, ma'am, I'm afraid your problem is about to get worse. She said, what do you mean? I said, I believe they're going to fire you. She was stunned. I couldn't have stunned her more if I'd hit her in the face with a bucket of ice water. She said, fire me? Why on earth would they fire me? The inflection in her voice clearly said, they're the bad guys, I'm the good guy. Why don't they fire them and keep me? Have you ever noticed that people who are the problem never recognize that they are? They're in complete denial. They think denial is just a river in Egypt. Why would they fire me? I said, ma'am, I don't believe there's a company in America big enough to contain this much poison in one small spot. Have you ever noticed that when somebody is about to lose something they've been complaining about, whether it's a car, a home, a mate, a job, or whatever, when all of a sudden it appears they're going to lose them, it takes on brand new value. She looked at me and said, well, what can I do? I said, do you really want to know? She said, yes, I do. That's the reason I came to see you. I came looking for help, but you sure haven't been any help so far. I said, well, ma'am, I've got an idea, and I will absolutely guarantee you it positively, definitely, absolutely will work if you will just do it. She said, I'll try anything within reason. I said, okay, when you get home tonight, all of your household tasks are complete. It's bedtime. Get off in a room right by yourself. Get a sheet of paper out, and at the top of it, write, I like my job because. She interrupted me. She said, that'll be easy. I don't like nothing about that job. Don't like nothing about those people down there. And I said, well, just as a matter of curiosity, do you work there for benevolent reasons, or do they pay you for working there? She said, well, I got to confess, they pay me. And I said, and you don't like to be paid? Oh, she said, yes, I do. I said, okay, tell you what you do. Open your notebook right now. We'll start our list of the things you like about your job. They pay you for working there, and you do like it, don't you? She said, absolutely. But she just stood there. I said, no, open your notebook now, and we'll get busy on the list. She just stood there. I said, ma'am, let me tell you what my experience in life has been. I've discovered that in 100% of the cases, no exceptions, people who won't take step number one never take step number two. You see, she had come to me with an impossible dream. Her dream was that nice Mr. Ziegler was going to solve all of her problems, and she would live happily ever after. But folks, I got news for you. I can't solve her problems. I can't solve your problems. But I will give you some steps that I'll absolutely, definitely, and positively will work for you, as it worked eventually for her. I said, well, ma'am, let me tell you something. Unless you're willing to take step number one right now, it's been nice talking with you. She angrily opened her notebook. Before we got through, there were 22 things she liked about her job. Not only did they pay her for working there, they paid her above average. She had 3 weeks vacation with pay. She had a retirement program. She was in on profit sharing. She had health insurance, life insurance, and accident insurance. She lived less than 10 minutes from home. She was in on management decisions. The company sent her to 3 seminars a year to be paid for. She had her own private office and parking place. 22 things that she liked about her job. Now I said, ma'am, when you get home tonight, everything is finished. Get off in a room right by yourself. Close the doors. Change one word from I like my job to I love my job. Get in front of that mirror. And folks, I cannot say this strongly enough, but I'm going to try. The eyes are the windows of the soul. Look yourself in the eye. And with excitement and enthusiasm, say, I love my job because they pay me for working there. I love my job because they pay me above average for working there. I love my job because they have a wonderful insurance program. I love my job before every one of the statements. You will sleep better that night. You see, there's something hidden in what I'm saying to you now. When she says, I like my job, she's really saying, I'm grateful for my job. And of all of the emotions we can have, according to Hans Selye, the #1 stress specialist in America, the healthiest of all human emotions is gratitude. I said, you go down that list. I like my job. I love my job, rather. That is a way of gratitude. You'll sleep better the first night. Tomorrow morning, when you get up, get back in front of the mirror just before you go to work. Get back in front of the mirror and repeat the process again with excitement and enthusiasm. I love my job because, and take the list with you. Because the reality is, you see, you will have started to change from a fault finder to a good finder. Some people do really find fault like there's a reward for it. They really do. Take the list with you, and you will be able to add to that list, absolutely guaranteed. Do this every morning and every night, and you will have an astonishing recovery from this advanced case of stinking thinking. Now, I didn't say that to her, but I'm saying it to you. That's what it was. It was an advanced case of stinking thinking. Well, 6 weeks later, I was back in Birmingham, Alabama. I was doing a follow-up sales seminar. Now, the lady was not in sales, but she had been listening to my tapes. She had been listening to Automobile University, and she had discovered that everybody sells. Everybody who will ever hear this is in selling. Whether you're a school teacher, a civil service worker, a military personnel, an executive secretary, it doesn't make any difference. What you do, you sell every day of your life. There she was at the sales seminar, seated on the front row, grinning so wide she could have eaten a banana sideways. I'm telling you, you're talking about somebody that was excited. She was turned on. I said, well, how you done? She grinned even more broadly and said, Mr. Ziegler, I'm doing wonderfully well, and thank you for asking. She said, you cannot believe how much those people down there have changed. I got to lay it on the line, folks. You're not going to change anybody else till you change you. Everything really does begin with you. Now, you see, the unfortunate thing, this lady had been raised in a very negative environment. First, her parents had told her that she'd never amount to anything. They had said, you know, you're always late, you're always sloppy, why can't you be like your brother or your sister or whatever? When she got married, her husband had continued it, and so her self-talk had become completely negative. Everything that she said about herself was negative. Like Dad said, I'll never amount to anything. Or like my husband says, I can't do anything right. But when she started changing the input, then some radical change.
What's up, Fire Nation? Another bonus episode coming your way. This one was a great chat. I had a lot of fun with Terry Wilson. Terry is a serial entrepreneur who offers entrepreneurs and solopreneurs the tools, training, and technology needed to earn and enjoy more. For the past 13 years, he's helped thousands of hungry individuals discover their thing, develop the skills to do it, and be given a strategy to deliver it to market and produce value. Terry has a weekly podcast that can be heard on iTunes, Stitcher, and at terrywilson3.com. He also wrote a book called You Are Worth More, which you can check out at youareworthmorebook.com. We have a lot of fun in this episode, Fire Nation. I truly hope you enjoy. It's hard. It is hard work to achieve uncommon success. But you know what else is hard, Terry? being broke.
You better believe that.
Living paycheck to paycheck, not being able to support your loved ones, not being able to support yourself, not being able to get up in the morning and do something that you want to do, but doing something you have to do. That's hard too. So Terry, my call to action for everybody here is choose your hard. Like back in 2012, it was hard. I spent 32 years of my life doing hard work and making the wrong decision on choosing my hard. I was going down the wrong path. I wasn't having any success. But then I flipped it and I said, you know what? Building this business, Entrepreneurs on Fire, it's going to be hard work. But the alternative is hard too. So I choose the hard of building a life of freedom, of building a life of choice, of building a life of uncommon success. And that's my call to action to everybody hearing our voices today. Choose your hard.
Choose your hard. Boy, I love that. You know, because there's a high cost of low living. And sometimes we think that, you know, we're just going to get out of this easy by taking the path of least resistance. And boy, sometimes the end of that path is just a tiger. I'm telling you, brother, I'm telling you.
Identify your big idea. Not be a weak, pale imitation of somebody else's big idea, which most people do. They're like, oh, look at what Terry's doing. He's so successful. Look what John's doing. I'll just copy them. And then you wonder why you fail, because you're a weak, pale imitation of those people and you will never win as a result. You need to come up with your big idea, your zone of fire, and wake up every day on fire, living that life. That is the life that you deserve. Because what at the end of the day do we really want? Freedom. The ability to wake up and do what we want, where we want to do it, with whom we want to do it with. If you have those three things, what more is there in life? And you can give yourself that gift. Just take it.
Which is identifying why are you here? You know, I like to say it this way. You're not a cosmic accident. You didn't show up on planet Earth because lightning struck a mud puddle billions of years later and you crawled out. You're a significant person with a significant reason for being here. There's a reason for you to be here. And once you identify that big idea, as John just said it, life becomes, oh my gosh, becomes unimaginable. Give us another. Go ahead.
Just on that point real quick. I mean, I think it's so key for people to understand this, like what Terry is just sharing. There is so much wisdom out there in this world, but there's also so much noise and it's chaotic. And sometimes it's so hard to really cut through all of this and to really get to the meat and potatoes, to really get down to what matters.
Does anyone know Terry's story, what Terry did?
I do.
So Terry sold musical instruments, sold pianos, right? And what was it? Was it 9/11 that created the problem?
Yeah.
9/11 creates a problem. Nobody wants to go. There's no money in town anymore. It's a brick and mortar store. Some woman comes up to him in church, some older woman, and she's like, I was thinking about your problem, and the Lord told me you should sell them on the computer. Sell your pianos on the computer. And Terry's like, that's a great idea. I got to get out of here because you're crazy. So, of course, he does it in that sweet way where he says, oh, bless your heart. And
Bless your heart.
He thinks about it. And then he's like, you know, he told me about the story about, you know, the guy, it's a flood and, you know, you should get out. No, the Lord's going to save me. And at the end, he goes to God and says, why didn't you save me? He's like, I did. You know, I tried. I sent you the news report. I sent you a helicopter. You know. So Terry takes that and he's like, God's telling me what to do here, right? So I should do. That was the message. I should sell these things online. His first thought when the woman tells him that is, how am I gonna, because she said her grandson sold CDs.
On eBay.
Yeah, Terry's like, how am I, you could just put them, I can't put a stamp on a piano. This is crazy.
Drop it in the mailbox.
Yeah, so next day, right? The next day he starts selling, sells them out in a week. So he doesn't think about, he doesn't latch on to his idea of I can't ship these things cheaply, right? He just goes past that. He goes, well, what's my first solution? My first solution is I got to sell these things. That's all he's thinking about. He sells out his whole inventory in a week. Then the problem comes to him. How do I get rid of these things? I've now sold them. How do I deliver them? So what would you guys have done?
Hire a U-Haul and drive them out there.
Yeah, that's what Terry did. Terry got a truck and just was like, well, I'm gonna take my brother-in-law. We're gonna go around the country. We're going everywhere. And he delivered pianos for 2 weeks. That's amazing. And then, then he's like, oh, and the next thing is I talked to some.
Welcome Welcome to TerryWilson3.com.
Over 1 decade of helping others
Discover, develop, and monetize your skills and talents at TerryWilson3.com.
This is the Terry Wilson. Really, I'm excited, Terry. I want to get started.
You're the real deal, right? You're the genuine article.
Right now, Terry, I'm so inspired after listening to you for the last 25, 30 minutes to go back and do about 400 things. You got me so jazzed up.
I'm still blown away by your story.
When I think of Terry Wilson, I think about the comeback kid.
You're like a cousin or an uncle that I just want to hang out with.
Terry, you have made a huge impact in my life.
Can't possibly say enough good things about you except that I love you.
Here's your host, Terry Wilson.
Welcome to episode 489. 489 episodes. That is too many because I know the guests and I know who does this podcast, and it's us. And, you know, I just don't know how we keep getting people back. But tonight we have two incredible guests, Jamie Harvill and Chris Miller. Chris, as you know, is a frequent guest and one of the TW3 radio personalities that offers entrepreneurial training each week on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Jamie Harvill is a prolific songwriter, worship leader, and author that has written such contemporary hits as Ancient of Days, Firm Foundation, Because We Believe, Put on the Garments of Praise, and numerous others. You can see all of his songs, training, and other content at jamieharvill.com.
Tonight's show is sponsored by CoachWithTW3.com. Mindset matters. Want to earn, enjoy, and experience more out of life? CoachWithTW3.com is an online coaching podcast designed to help you think better, more positive, and more creatively. For $5 per month, you can have all the mindset coaching produced by Terry that is on demand anytime you need. Go to CoachWithTW3.com now and sign up. Sign up now and get the first 4 chapters of the audiobook version of You Are Worth More.
If you've got any questions, you can text your questions now to 864-507-9696. If we choose your question to air, we will send you a free signed copy of the You Are Worth More book as a way of saying thank you.
I got a question.
Go for it.
What'd you think, you old man playing basketball the other night?
That was fun.
I was impressed by the stamina because I played basketball with you like in years past.
I didn't have a heart attack.
You didn't have a heart attack, and I was a little frustrated that your bank shot kept going in. But, you know, you grow up in the 90s and you shoot inefficient mid-range shots, so it's cool.
Did you say inefficient?
It's inefficient. Lay it up or shoot from 3. Why are you shooting from the mid-range? It's stupid.
See, in my language, that's called a high percentage shot.
Well, in your case, it went in every time. But then again, River was defending you, so I mean.
Well, I did have that going for me.
Yeah, I was surprised.
I got to admit the fact that I could at least stay on the same court with you guys and not die of cardiac arrest, and more importantly, get up the next day and walk away to tell about it.
That's pretty good.
I was proud of myself.
Yeah, I was surprised.
The next step here is we actually run like a 3v3 game, like a half court.
Oh, yeah. I'm not there yet, but I say in another few months I'll be ready. We keep doing it every Thursday night. I think we'll be ready. You know, Antony said he wanted to come and
He's not allowed to come.
But I told him, I said, you are not allowed yet. You're too good. You're too athletic. You're too experienced. And you're too tall.
Yeah. Antony is what we call an actual basketball player.
Well, he's a basketball player, coach, and
military veteran.
Military veteran. I mean, he served armed guard, or I don't know what you call the exact position, but he was the guy that stood beside the White House door and opened the door for the president and all that for both Bill Clinton and George W.
That's a really cool experience. Yeah. Not many people get to say that.
I mean, he got to work for 2 presidents and sort of do the door opening thing there at the White House and all that.
I got so many jokes and questions.
If you know Antony, he looks the part.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's absolutely right out of Central Casting as far as.
Yeah, he's his demeanor, his stature is one. That
and then you talk to him, he's a big teddy bear.
Oh yeah, he's the nicest guy ever. He's the nicest guy ever.
But look like he'd tear you apart in just 2 seconds.
You don't want to mess with him.
Yeah. But
anyway, we don't want to play basketball with him.
We're not. Antony, if you're listening, it might be a while. But hey, I'm excited about tonight's show. Gonna,
2 great guests.
How do we keep getting these guys?
I don't know. That's what I was saying at the beginning. We've done 489 episodes. That is 489 moments where people went, yeah, I'll listen again. I don't know why. I mean, I know why they listen to our guests. Our guests are awesome, but I don't know why our guests say yes either. So.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't understand how we're able to get such quality people and content, but it is in the season of Thanksgiving. I'm very humbled and thankful because of it. So it should be a great show. Chris has got training that he's going to be talking about, codes and living by a standard. And then Jamie, who has been a longtime friend of mine. I met Jamie back, I guess, in the early 90s when I got in the music business and working at the music store. And he had moved from California back home, which was where we lived, and came off the road and had just written this big hit that made it to an album called Lift Him Up by Ron Canoli, which was just like the be-all, end-all. And I think that bought his first house or two.
I've played so many of his songs without like even knowing that it was. And I think I've met him once or twice because he came for a praise and worship team. But just as far as he might be the number one guy as far as I've played through your music for worship, like playing on the praise team, and maybe not even realized it. Like I've probably played 7 or 8 of his songs, and I know 5 of them.
If you played any modern contemporary stuff out of the 90s and early 2000s, you've played one of his songs, more than likely. And he's just, the cool thing about him is, and it goes to, I'd say this about other people at a certain level in that field, like Bill Champlin and some of these other guys have been privileged. So humble. I mean, you just talk to them, they're just regular Joes.
Yeah.
They don't have, it's like they're almost no ego. I mean, it's just, hey,
when you talk to him, you realize he's so incredibly smart, very creative person, very, he's orchestrating.
Yeah.
Like he's got a very good brain for, this is where I want everything. This is where all the pieces line up. He's got the entire song, it seems like, in his head planned out. And but then you talk to him and he's just like, oh yeah, we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah,
it's
he's just a regular old
Are
Joe.
you supposed to be yelling at me for screwing up your stuff?
Yeah, why aren't you fussing at me right now? So that's gonna be cool, and can't wait to talk to him and Chris as well. Chris has got incredible training. I'm gonna be speaking to Chris right before the training. So guys, if you've thought about which show to tune into, you picked a great one tonight because we got 2 all-star rock star guests that's going to be bringing you content both from a mindset perception to a practical business application and everything in between. So when we get back right after this, we'll get in it with Chris Miller, Miller Time, all the way down there in High Life headquarters. We get back right after this. Offering thanks and gratitude here at TW3.
I'm thankful for the opportunity that we have here that's been laid out before us, and it didn't just happen. I don't believe in coincidence, and I believe it was put before me so I could use it.
Coach C here. 2021 is a year that I will never forget, and I've never been more thankful. My wife, Debbie, is an angel, and it is the best thing to ever happen to me. We were blessed this year with 4 new grandchildren, and that brings the total to 9. Business has never been better. TW3 Marketing will close this year with record earnings, and that makes it back-to-back record years. And last, getting to know Terry, his family, and being part of the TW3 team is an incredible blessing and something I am truly thankful for. I can't wait to see what God has in store for us in 2022. So from my family to yours, have a safe and happy holiday season.
I'm grateful for many, many things this holiday season. No one achieves success does so without acknowledging the help of others. So I just want to acknowledge Terry Wilson, my friends, my family, the hundreds and hundreds of clients I have all across the United States and other countries. I would not be here today with all the help along the way that I've received. Happy holidays for everybody. Stay safe and happy. Call me directly at 281-870-2644 or my website, GaryGreen1.com. The number 1.com, GaryGreen1.com. Happy holidays.
Hey
Hey everybody, this is Lori Brown, aka Misspelling Bee. You can look me up on LoriBrown7.com. Give thanks to the Lord, for he is good and his love endures forever. What I'm most thankful for is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, whom all blessings flow. I have a wonderful Mr. Wonderful of 31 years, my best friend, 4 beautiful children who grew up to be great adults, and more than that, they've all got partners that are also almost as good as my kids, and I love and adore all of them. Really thankful right now for my TW3 family. You all mean the world to me. Terry, his family, the kids, and everyone that's in our little TW3 family. So I'm wishing everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Take some time to think about what you're thankful for and enjoy your family and friends and a little relax. Love to everybody. Bye.
You're listening to TerryWilson3.com.
Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
And now, let's get into that interview with Chris Miller.
Thank you, guys. Well, listen, all the way down there in High Life headquarters, it is Miller time. What is going on, Chris?
What's going on, Terry?
It is you, baby.
Hey.
Listen, I love it. I love it. Well, you got a great training that you've got teed up for us tonight. And I got to watch just a little preview of what you're going to be doing, and I think it's awesome. And I want to tell you, you used a word that sort of triggered a memory of mine when you first opened it up, and you'll appreciate this as a former military man. You used the word code.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of a movie where this Marine was on trial, and they was cross-examining his I don't know what the exact position or rank was, but he used the word, well, he had no code. And it was harkening me back to, who was it, Kevin Bacon, and who else was that? The guy that plays in 24. What's the actor that plays in 24? And
Kiefer Sutherland?
Kiefer Sutherland was on the stand being cross-examined by Tom Cruise in A Few Good Men.
Oh, yeah.
About this dead Marine. He goes, well, he had no code. So how important is a code in business?
I think it's important to live your life by a code, especially in business. I mean, it's just, you got to have a set of standards, right? And you have to say, no matter what happens, I'm going to uphold this set of standards because this is who I am, right? And you don't ever violate those set of standards. You don't ever compromise them, you know. And in the training coming up, you're gonna hear a moment that I had in my life recently in the past where I seriously considered, should I compromise this standard? And I chose not to. And in the end, it worked out better for me that I held fast.
That's awesome. To me, when you live by a code, you're forced to look at the long picture, the long view. You know, your life, your business, everything you do is an investment in your future. And if you're wanting the quick fix, that's when you start compromising out.
Yeah. And you want people to be able to know they can understand and they can trust you, right? And if you live by a set of rules, you live by a set of standards, if you live by that code, then everybody always knows where they sit with you. They always know that you can be dependent on for certain things. They always know where they fall into that process, and you get that trust that you deserve.
Absolutely. And it's a great filtering device as well. Mm-hmm. Because, you know, out there in the highways and the byways, when you're talking to people and you're marketing, if you live your life by code, you posture yourself by that code, you present yourself, everything about you just screams, this is Chris Miller, this is what he's about, this is what he loves, and this is what he will not tolerate. All of a sudden it sort of tells the wrong people, this isn't for me, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sort of screams.
Chris Miller don't change, man.
Like, get off my lawn.
Chris Miller is who he is, and he knows who he is.
Yeah.
I'm not changing. I'm not going to compromise who I am for somebody. I'm going to tell you, go away. If you're still there, I'm going to say, all right.
Yeah.
It's Thanksgiving. I'm grateful,
I love it. I love it. Well, tell me, what are you most thankful for this year?
What I'm most thankful for this year is having an extra time with my mom. I don't know if you knew about it, but this year has been really tough on my family with some people dying and my mother having a stroke and things like that. So she's making great recoveries, and we're going to spend the holiday together. And that's what I'm most thankful for this year.
Thankful for every moment we get to spend with our loved ones. That's for sure. Well, that is awesome. And I'm looking forward to this training. And if people need to get more in touch with, if this touches what they're doing, how can they get in touch with you, Chris?
Anybody can always get a hold of me at themillerfirms.com. My email address is cmiller@themillerfirms.com. Follow me on social, et cetera, et cetera. Just look for themillerfirms.com and any of your local stations.
And guys, if you want to hear some just incredible week after week after week value bombs that's just going to daisy cut all the discouragement down in your life and in your business, you got to tune in to Chris's show every Tuesday. What time?
6 p.m. Eastern Standard.
6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the Leader Tree over at tw3radio.com. He's also on YouTube, and he's got other channels, but you can check him out as well. But this guy is a top-notch trainer, coach, recruiter, salesperson, professional. You do well by having Chris Miller in your corner, so check him out sometime.
You don't want.
I hear you. All right, let's get into this trade.
Hey everybody, this is Chris Miller, and I am going to be talking tonight about living and working by a code. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean you have to be true to who you are and have a standard in which you want to conduct your life and your business. So what I'm going to do in order to go over this is I'm going to tell you guys what my code is. And if there's something in there that you want to add to the code that you live and work by all means, feel free to do so. If I can inspire you in some way, maybe you're not living by a code right now and you're just kind of living day to day, right? I would inspire you, hopefully, to live by a code, right? Work by a code, stick to that code, right? Because it's going to help you in your life. It's going to help you in your business. It's going to help you in your relationships, just all around when you do that. So number one for me is be on time, always, right? I don't think anybody here ever says Chris Miller's late, right? Chris Miller, where is he? Where is that guy, right? I show up, right? And I'll be working sometimes, but I show up, right? And now I have clients that I'll wait on from time to time. Like I'll sit there and I'll do other things while I'm waiting for someone to show up on a Zoom call or something like that. And I'll just keep working, doing other things. And then they'll eventually show up maybe 10, 15 minutes late, because I'll keep those Zoom lines open for like 25 minutes, right? Until there's a drop dead point where I say, okay, I can no longer effectively talk to this person in the time I'm allotted. In that case, then I'll drop that call. I'll send them an email and say, we'll need to reschedule, right? But be on time always. I'm there so that when they need me, I can be there. And that brings me to my second one. Always be available. Always, always, always be available. I strive to always be available when somebody needs me. Whether I've sold you something 10 years ago, or I'm in the process of selling you something right now, right? If you want to get a hold of me, you usually can, right? And the reason why that you usually can is because I've set myself up to where I'm always able to be available within a certain amount of time. And I tell everybody up front, so anybody here who's a client of mine will tell you, because I say this to everybody, right? If for some reason you can't reach me leave me a message. I will get back to you the same day. I sometimes work till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with the way that I do things, but I never leave anything undone. So, because new business cannot get mixed up with old business in my brain, right? Because if that happens, I get confused. So I get everything done before I call it a day. Now, I may reach out to you, at 1 o'clock in the morning. Don't get mad at me if I reach out after hours. I won't call anytime after 9 p.m. I'll only text or I'll email. But that's going to happen. I will reach out to you. I will give you an answer if you need it. I will always be available the same day. Right? That's the best that I can do. But to this day, I've never had a single person complain that I didn't get a hold of them. I never had a single person complain I didn't reach back out. Okay? Number 3, support others, but don't give it away. Right? I don't give anything for no reason. Right? I don't need to give you things. Right? If you're making an effort to help yourself, on the other hand, I will support that all day long. I will go out of my way to support somebody who's helping them. I have lent money to people who needed it. I have gone out of my way to help people who were prospects of mine that said, well, I just need such and such to get by, and I'm willing to do the work. I'm willing to do this. I'm willing to do that. I'll go out of my way to assist them in getting where they want to go. But am I just going to give this thing to them or that thing to them or this other thing to them? No, I'm not. I'm not going to give away anything, right? Because when Jesus looked at him and he said, I'm going to help you, right? Did he say, I'm going to give everything to you? No, he never said that, right? What did he say? He say, you've got to do the work, right? It's like the old saying, teach a man to fish, right? Don't give a man a fish, right? He goes and talks about the mustard seed all the time, right? About the mustard seed that falls over here, doesn't do anything. The mustard seed who goes over here and cultivates, they could do more, right? They can grow. Because that mustard seed has to do the work though, right? It's just a seed. It might need to be given certain things in order to survive, in order to get that help, right? And I'm willing to do that all day long for somebody. But when it's not able to be done, it can't just sit there and do nothing. It can't. Not if it wants to be successful. So I will support others, but I don't give anything away. Okay? Always do the right thing. Number 4 for me. I have a saying, if you always do the right thing, you can never go wrong. I've drilled it into the head of everybody who's ever worked for me. I've drilled it into my son's head. And I have been tested on this subject. Okay? When I was in my divorce, which was a 3-year-long nightmare, by the way, I was tested. I had the ability to do it the wrong way and get ahead. And I chose to do it the right way. And I kept getting stomped on, man. I kept getting stomped on. Her lawyer was doing everything just about as illegal as you can come up with. And I don't know how that woman continues to have a law license. But because of that, they were winning, right? They're taking me down this long path and I'm losing this and I'm losing that and I'm losing all these things in court. And I kept doubting myself over and over again. I just kept doubting myself and I kept saying, how is it that this woman and her lawyer are doing everything wrong, illegal? They're lying to judges. They're doing all these things that they're not supposed to do. They're fabricating evidence against me that doesn't exist. How can they get away with that? And they're actually gaining ground where I'm losing ground by doing the right thing. It was really frustrating. And I even talked to my son about it because he said, Dad, you told me if we always do the right thing, we can never go wrong, but this is not going in our favor. And I said, I know. And I was worried because she was trying to take my son away from me. it was a about as bad a situation as it can get, right? But I stuck to my guns and I stuck to my code, and I said, I am going to do the right thing. No matter what they choose to do, I'm going to stick by going with what's right. And in the end, by the time it was all said and done, their lies caught up with them in front of a judge, and I ended up winning everything. She gets nothing out of this deal, right? And my son is secure and he's safe at home with me. If you always do the right thing, you can never go wrong. God will look out for you that way. I really believe it. And that brings me to another one. Stay true to who you are. Stay true to who you are. I stayed true to who I was. And because of that, I ended up successful in that divorce, right? I stay true to who I am every day. You guys have all known me for quite a while. Has Chris Miller ever changed? Chris Miller has never changed, right? That's because Chris Miller doesn't have to figure out who he is. He knows who he is. I know who I am. I hope you all know who you are. Use that to your advantage in business, life, relationships, etc., and grow into who you want to be based on who you already are inside, right? Stay true to yourself. You know, there's an old saying, fake it until you make it, right? Well, a lot of people confuse what that means, right? Fake it until you make it. A lot of them confuse that to mean I need to look like I'm rich and flashy and fancy and blah, blah, blah. And then one day I'll become rich and fast and flashy and fancy and blah, 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 right? That's not what that statement is meant for. Fake it until you make it is meant for when you have a product or a service or something that you're trying to sell and you don't know everything about it, pretend like you know stuff about it until you do know stuff about it, right? It doesn't mean go out there and pretend to be something you're not. You know, it means to represent that product the best that you can. But then I always tell you, if you don't know something, don't tell somebody you don't know it either. Well, the opposite of that. Tell them you don't know it, and then tell them you know where to find it, and you'll get back to them. They're gonna respect that a lot more than if you tell them that you do know something. You know, if you say, I don't know where to find this, then you look incompetent. But if you say, oh yeah, I know the answer to that, and you're wrong, you may look confident, but you're leading somebody down the wrong route, right? And you don't want to ever do that. So instead, tell them, I don't know the answer to your question, but I know how to find it, and I'll get back to you with that answer. Then you don't look incompetent, and you don't look like you don't know what you're talking about, right? They'll respect you for it. All right, be prepared. This is one that's very big for me. Be prepared for failure. I know you're thinking, Chris Miller just said that, right? Because you guys have been with me for a long time. You all know me. And when you think Chris Miller, you think success, right? Well, that is something that you guys have seen, right? In my world, there has been more failure than ever successes, right? Now, granted, I've been successful, right? I've made some great things happen. There's been great things that have happened here for me in the last few years. Right? But that wasn't always the case. And for every success I have, there's at least a dozen failures that I had to go through before I found it. Right? Even to this day, within this last year, I've had massive failures as well as successes. Right? I've had a product launch that failed miserably. I've had processes that have failed miserably. And I've had others that have succeeded, right? So you just don't allow it to beat you. That's the thing. You got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep pushing forward. You got to keep pushing forward. That's another one. Keep pushing forward. Never let anything take you down, right? Don't get discouraged. Get angry about it. Don't get discouraged, get angry. Say, why didn't that work? Why did I fail? Because let me make it very clear to anybody who doesn't know this already. If something you've done failed, it's you who failed. Let me make sure that I made that clear. It's you who failed. Just like all the failures that I've had, they were me who failed. Right? I could have accepted those failures, or I could have pushed on through them and found a way to make those things work. Which is what I did. That's why I said I had some processes that failed and other processes that didn't fail. I didn't say that I changed the product, did I? I just said the process didn't work, and then another one did. Because I didn't accept that defeat, and neither should you. All right? If you give up on it, that's when you become the failure. Don't allow anybody to tell you you are right or wrong. Just be who you are, okay? Last one I'm going to tell you, shoot for the star, forget about the moon, okay? People say, shoot for the moon, shoot for the moon. Forget that nonsense. If you shoot for the moon and you fail to make it there, where do you end up? Right back on Earth. If you shoot for the star back down there behind it and you don't make it, you at least landed on that moon, didn't you? Folks, it's been great being with my TW3 family again, as always. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and I look forward to chatting with you all again soon. And this is Chris Miller reminding you, always keep smiling. Hey, real quick before I go, I want to invite you all to a very special episode of the Leader Tree Podcast here at TW3 Radio tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to be talking about what I'm thankful for Thanksgiving, and we're also going to be sharing some secrets from the things I learned watching Undercover Billionaire. So I watched 2 seasons of Undercover Billionaire back to back. I spent 2 full days doing this so I could glean from the masters what they want to show me, from how to take $100 and turn it into $1 million business in just 90 days. And I want to share that information with you during my podcast tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Check it out at the Leader Tree and TW3radio.com.
You're listening to TerryWilson3.com.
Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
We're back. Terry and Jamie are going to have a conversation, and I'm pretty excited, so let's get into it.
Thank you, Reagan. And you are right. I'm here with Jamie right now, a longtime friend, just a man that walks the walk. He don't just talk the talk, and it's just a privilege to have him all the way down there in L.A., Lower Alabama. Jamie, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, we are in Lower Alabama, down on the Gulf Coast, and it's chilly down here.
Chilly in L.A., wow.
In L.A., yes. Yes. Mobile, Alabama is the big city, but I am speaking from Saraland, Alabama, where I serve in a great church.
That is awesome. Awesome. Well, Jamie, we've been fortunate to have some of these folks you might know. Some of them, I'm sure you probably know, Nathan East. I've been able to have him, Tristan Bowden from Kenny Loggins in Chicago, of course, Bill Champlin. Had them in. Steve Lukather we're going to have in the coming month. So all of these are great musicians in their own right, but I am privileged and honored to have you among them because your heart, I know you, and the way you use your craft in your art is to me being used by the person who designed it and for the reason it was designed. So that's awesome to have you in. Reagan already listed out your credentials in the songs that we've grown up in church singing and playing. But it is the season of Thanksgiving, so I guess the first question I would have for you is, what are you thankful for this year, Jamie?
Oh my goodness. I'm thankful that I'm here, that we've survived. I'm 61 years old, and I don't think I'd want to be any other age. I'm thankful that that I have a wonderful wife. I'm thankful that I have two wonderful grown-up kids with 5 grandkids. I'm glad to be able to lead worship at my age. It's getting to the point where it could look pitiful, you know.
No, I can't
Worship
imagine.
leaders with those great people that you just mentioned, who are my hero musicians. You know, they're older than me, and they're still out there just hitting it and doing wonderful. So I'm glad to be here and glad to still be able to do what I do.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're still doing it too. I keep up with you online, and I always like watching your stuff and hearing you play. You know, you're a musician, and which is an art. It pulls on your capacity to be creative. Some of the guys listening to us tonight may not be a musician, but they're an entrepreneur in own right, which is a form of creativity. They got to create a product, or they got to create something. So I want to pick your brain for just a minute. Can you tell me what are some elements or exercises or things that you do to try to get those creative juices flowing? And, you know, getting in that place, that mindset, that headspace that you're connected to the creator, and
Yes.
letting it flow, and being able to be creative. Give us some pointers, some things that we can do to sort of grease the skids, if you will.
Well, Terry, I think it's where science and art collide, is where you do the work beforehand. In my, not business, but in ministry, you have to prepare and do things so that when you're in that space of ministry, you're not worried about other things. You can just live in that moment within the worship time, and you can be creative. And what I mean by that is just being prepared, thinking through things on a weekly, daily, monthly basis, so that when I do get to church in the morning, let's just say on a Sunday morning, when it's time for me to do what I got to do, I can rest.
Yeah.
And I think the secret for me is being at rest at that time of creation, and doing all the hard work that needs to be done beforehand so that I can be at rest. And I prefer to be laid back in my approach to leading worship. And so I want that to be apparent when I do, because I really believe people relax when you're relaxed. And when you're uptight about stuff, then I think people can be uptight. And that is a small thing that I would put out there for, you know, being at rest means making decisions before you come to the place, instead of having to be forced to make decisions. And that could be, you know, I don't know, figuring out everything that you need to do technically and scientifically, so that you can just creatively look like it's effortless. And that, I think, is what a good performer, the characteristic of a good performer is. It seems effortless.
Yeah. You don't see all the time at the woodshed, just, you know, working on the craft, on the craft, so that when you're front, all you see is the art.
Hopefully all's the congregation, in my case, or audience in a general case, hopefully what they see is a guy who's comfortable in his own skin. And therefore they forget about it. They're drawn into the moment. And you know, you and I have talked, we've known each other for 25 or more years. And way back in those days, part of what I was teaching as a conference leader, was to help churches understand flow. And so that is what I'm interested in, is drawing people's attention toward the Lord, toward the gospel narrative. I want people to think and to experience it, and I want them to relax and go with me.
Right. And I love what you said, and people can relax because you're relaxed. Because when you're all uptight and you're hunting and pecking for the notes, in your case, or the lyric or whatever, man, you create this vibe of unease. Yeah. And
absolutely. And I don't know how that would transfer over into the other entrepreneurs that are watching or that are with you. But I feel like it's helpful in my business anyway.
Well, I'll tell you how, when you don't know your product, when you don't know its benefits, when you don't know your script, then all of a sudden you don't come across confident to your prospective client. You're hunting and pecking for your notes. You're hunting and pecking, and all of a sudden you got this anxiousness about you. Well, they're not digging on your vibe. They're not digging on your song.
No.
And I love what, I forget who said it, you know, buying in the marketplace, buying is an emotional decision that's backed up by logic. And so when people listen to your worship, when people listen to our music, well, what they're doing is they're buying in emotionally. They're buying in emotionally, and then the song, the lyric validates a preconceived idea. Love, if it's a love song, worship, if it's a worship song, all of a sudden my logical brain kicks in and saying, yeah, he is a firm foundation. He is the ancient of days.
Well, thank you for saying those.
Well,
yeah.
I know my audience.
You know, yes, absolutely. I can see now, tying that in, how important that is, and that's where science meets art.
Yeah.
They kind of intersect at that point, and you make your big decisions. I make my decisions as far as key changes. I try to make those decisions. I try to make the conceptual decisions way early on. And some people in my and I know you've been in worship before. Yeah. Some people say, well, why don't you just let the Lord, the Holy Spirit lead you? And I'm like, you know, the Holy Spirit. Well, let me tell you this. The Holy Spirit can lead me 2 weeks before too.
Absolutely.
The Holy Spirit just doesn't lead the day of or the minute of. He can lead you. And sometimes it's amazing how when I'm in tune with the Holy Spirit and our pastor is, and we come away and we think, wow, what an incredible service we had, and we kind of developed it in different. He did his sermon and I did what I'm doing, and then it came together well, and that's only because it was engineered and designed by the Creator, the great Creator.
It was orchestrated. That's right.
God orchestrated it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I have found, and I guess it's because I've had my foot in the music world so long and understanding that you're right. It's where that crossroads of art and science intersect. Mm-hmm. And it's, you know, at the end of the day, you're selling. I could strip all the spiritual dynamics away for just a moment and say, what Jamie's up there doing is he's selling a product. The product is this idea, this concept, this construct of salvation through this deity, Christ. Mm-hmm. And the way he's able to do it is he's got his scripts down. He's got his presentation down. I mean, you know, you can strip it. So it all intersects, but there is so much more meaning to it than that. That's just the scientific side of it. And so I always like just breaking it down and looking at it from all different angles to see what can the Spirit of God give us and show us in those arenas. Mm-hmm. You mentioned something before we got on about a book that we've both read, and we've shared some similar experiences about Who Moved My Cheese. And I was telling you, because, you know, I don't think we've been able to speak in years. And I think the last time we was talking, I was more involved in worship leading than I am now. And we had sort of shared our war stories. Tell my audience, because a lot of people are on this podcast and heard that because of my book, You Are Worth More, which I go through the music business shutting down and having to find my way back to a creative path that I could use the skill sets I had, which was, you know, some artistry, some business, some ministry. How can I take all of these components and put it in this pot and make something, you know, worth eating? And you were sharing, you know, well, I've had some, so I would love for our audience to hear your path and your journey of how you've gotten to where you're at now.
Well, Terry, I'm a firm believer that God's word never changes. It has been and it will be as it is. And when we read the word of God, the mission for my life has never changed. My mission is to be a child of God and to worship him. That's never changed. That never will change. No matter how many scientific inventions or, you know, stylistically music would change. My mission has never changed. even when I was 15 years old and I received Christ and in my life, and he assaulted my life basically. But I was smart enough, I think, to say, yes, Lord, and trust him. But he would show me throughout my life ways to go. And sometimes, as we've talked earlier, that he closes and opens doors. There was a major period of time when my cheese got moved. And that was when digital music became popular. Well, I was with a music company for a good bit of time where I was published, and the whole thing was selling records. And even if you had a song that was like the number 10 song on a record, when that record got sold, your song got sold too. Right. So you made a living. I made a living for a long time on these songs that I had written. And I had some really good, I was blessed to have good placement and good songs that rose to the top. But it became apparent that we were losing ground as far as selling songs, and becoming a songwriter became increasingly more difficult.
Yeah.
So to cut to the chase, I came to the point where we lived in Nashville and I was doing more studio work and I was working here and there, but I realized that at the coming age that I was coming up to, I was budding up right up to about 55 years old, 54. And I realized that my desire to finish my graduate work was becoming more realistic. And I thought, well, what do I want to do as I get older? Well, I still want to play guitar. I still want to sing. Writing songs waned a bit because there's no place to put those necessarily. So I thought, what would I do? And some people say teachers, practitioners can, teachers can't. I don't agree with that. Because at this time of my life as a mentor, I felt like getting my master's degree and getting my doctorate was what was important to do. And so I did exactly that. I got my master's degree and then right away went into my doctorate. So 2.5 years ago, I was able to graduate from Liberty University with my Doctor of Worship degree. And so what in all that I say, that it was important for Brenda and I to move away from that thought, okay, we're going to be songwriters. No, I'm not going to be a songwriter. That's not my focus anymore. I might write songs, but my focus is going to be being a worship leader and being a mentor. And so I'm able to teach as an adjunct professor at Trevecca Nazarene University. And my main course that I teach is on the history of worship in the Christian church. I love it.
Nice.
I love it because a part of our script is understanding the nature of what worship is. And to me, and I'll just cut to the chase, worship for me is to get the church, not just the leaders and the singers and all those that are professionals, but get those folks in the congregation to sing praises to the Lord. Now, once you understand that, you understand what you're supposed to do as a worship leader. It's not to perform. It's not to show off. It's to lead the congregation in worship. And that is, and part of the science is picking the right keys and finding the right concepts and words that will come to people's minds quicker, and concepts that would come to people's minds quicker. So we moved our cheese, and we moved back from Nashville down to Mobile, where my wife's from, and where our kids were born. And we live in this area now, and that's where we've been for the last 7 years.
Nice.
Almost 8.
I love it. I love it. So the gifting and the calling is without repentance. That's there. It's just the path changes.
The methods change. The pathways change.
Yeah. We make plans, but he orders the steps. So I love it. I love it. You're listening to Jamie Harvill at jamieharvill.com. He's on with us tonight, and this is our special Thanksgiving edition of the TerryWilson3.com podcast. And Jamie is a prolific songwriter, worship leader, and he just told a story about having to pivot from a focus, an emphasis that was on writing songs, and now more teaching and equipping others to be able to lead people in worship with those songs and other songs as well. And that's, funny you should mention that. It's happened in all music and all spectrums. Bill Champlin was talking about how he made, several dollars off of songs that he had written with David Foster and all that stuff in the early 80s, and with Toto and all that crowd as well. And as soon as iTunes started allowing you to cherry pick and do things, it just it hurt everybody that were songwriters at the time. So that's a huge thing in that industry, I know. And
well, business wise, Terry, there is a thing called CCLI, and it's an international company where churches register. And with this, and I'm able to make from live performance of songs that people sing in church. I'm able to really make a better impact financially through that. And unfortunately, secular songwriters don't have that avenue. They do have other kinds of live performance income, but I think particularly in the Christian field, CCLI are able to bring in finances to those of us who have had songs that go back 30 years. And
Nice.
I still am able to be blessed with that.
so every time I play Ancient of Days at church, I'm still helping you out, right?
Just tell your worship leader to make sure he reports it.
Well, we'll get Charlie on the phone here in just
Charlie.
Yeah, Harley Chopper, you know.
I like Charlie.
Charlie's a good guy. Last question. How has networking and collaborating with other artists, musicians, and writers helped you in your career?
Well, networking in the songwriting field is natural, because you learn that when somebody else has an idea, you can always piggyback on that idea. And many times there's not just two, but there's maybe 3, even 4 writers. Generally, 2 writers in a room is enough. But it's networking with other people just for the songwriting idea is one way. But when you have 2 people who have their own publishing, in other words, they own their own portion of that song, you have another person with their own publishing who, with their influence, they could be influencing a whole other aspect of other than you, as far as friendships and business acquaintances, and they can promote your song in their avenue, you promote yours and your avenue, and it goes further. And it's really important that we network, and really it's the same as far as relationships with ministry. We network with other worship leaders, and we learn so much that way and find out how to do what we do better.
Sure. So you guys in the business world out there, especially the online marketing space, that's a way of saying build out your affiliates, strengthen those affiliates that you have, because now all of a sudden you've got little soldiers in the field that's out there carrying your banner, your song, your ideas, your thoughts, and there is a monetary alignment for them to help as well. So that's just one more way of helping yourself by helping others and growing your impact. Well, before I let you go, Jamie, you got any projects or anything that we need to let the people know about that they can get over at your website or any other place?
You know, one thing that I really have done, and this would be a project ultimately, is to write books. And so since 2013, I've written 2. And what's important to me is that when you write a book, just like a record, when you write a book, the words and the thoughts are down on paper. And again, they don't change unless you change them. And it can help people after you. In the area of songwriting, I haven't written a book about songwriting, but I have written a book about the Christian music history of the Christian church musically. And then I have written a book about how to aspire as a worship leader. So I would say in the future for me, projects, maybe another record. I've got a couple right now that are out that I'm really proud of, that you can see on my website, jamieharvill.com. You'll go to the music section and it'll show you what they are. Very proud of that. But what I'm interested in is writing books, because not only are they something that I can give away to the next generation, but it's something that it lets others know who I am. and it lets others spend a lot of time with my thoughts and who I am. And it might open up doors for speaking. It might open up doors for teaching in my case. So anything that you can create and leave behind is a benefit for you. Really, it's a marketing for you. Yeah. And so that's what I'm interested in doing, is writing more in my later years.
Well, you are a wealth of knowledge, and so I'm glad to hear that you've written some books as well, so that people can get inside your head a little bit and see how Jamie processes and thinks about greater ideas, such as To Jesus We Sing and The Worship Foundry.
That's exactly right. Those are the two books.
Yeah. So get those over at jamieharvill.com, and you can click on books there. If you will go to 864-507-9696 and just text the word Jamie, we will get the information over to you as well, and I'll throw in a copy. If you get his book, I'll throw in a copy of You Are Worth More as an incentive to go over to jamieharvill.com and get that. But you got to text 864-507-9696. Jamie, thank you for being on with us tonight.
Thank you, Terry. I'm honored. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. We'll be back right after this.
You're listening to TerryWilson3.com.
Inspiring, informative, and entertaining content for the entrepreneur and small business owner.
And now back to our show with Terry Wilson.
All right. Well, what'd you think?
Do you like when I bump the mic during your interviews?
I loved it. Does
that add to it?
Yeah, the ambiance of it's live.
It says, it would go great with a really intimate and endearing conversation. Somebody just hitting the mic.
Just hitting the microphone while we're trying to complete a thought. It does help. It does help.
Now it's good to hear from Jamie again. It's
Jamie.
Been a few years.
Been a few years, and what a sweetheart. What a sweetheart, and what a guy that he's just always very open and generous with his time, his information, and his input. So, he's one of those that believes in giving back to everybody on every level, whatever form of artistry you can pull something from it. And a lot of times people don't appreciate the fact that entrepreneurialism is a form of creativity. You're creating products, you're creating moments, you're creating conversations that will compel people to move and all that. So there's artistry in everything we do. There's a craft part of it, and there's an artistry part of it. And so many times on this show, we spend a lot of times talking about the craft. This is how you construct, a sales funnel. This is how the flow of things have to be. But when you master your craft, just like you master an instrument or drums, or notice how I delineated between instruments and
Thank you.
Yeah, little inside drummer joke there, but it is true. It's fun when you've mastered that. You can start creating art, and so that's fun. So, boys, what are we looking forward to this week at Thanksgiving?
Food.
Isn't
it always? I like that Thanksgiving's the one where every holiday in America has a central theme.
Yes.
I'm gonna skirt over that one. But
come on. Tell us how you feel politically.
No,
where are you going?
No, that's fine. But this is the only one where we're like gluttony, and everybody's like, yes.
Well, I think all of the holidays have a sort of a component to let's just all feast out and
yeah. But it's like.
But Thanksgiving is the big one.
Thanksgiving's the one where it's literally like the central theme of this holiday. We eat. Yeah. And I like that. I'm with it.
Well, it's the time of the season, which is this harvest back in agricultural times. This is where you harvest all of the crops and everything. And
yes, it's worked out well. We've planned the history behind it.
Yeah. So you then celebrate and say, hey, look at all this corn. Look at all this,
I'm not fat. I'm celebrating history.
I burned all these calories out. Back then, there wasn't an obese problem because you could eat what you wanted because you're going to burn it all.
It's kind of hard when resources are limited as well. But
yeah. I'm excited for this week. We got time off of work and school. And
we do?
That was subjective. I do.
I work here.
Yeah, we work from home. What do you mean? We're always at work. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, there's no mastermind this Wednesday. There's no.
Boo. That's everybody. That's
I know it. It is fun. I love those mastermind groups. It's just
those are typically. Now this is 100% honest. Sometimes we go until 10:30, and it's the same questions that I personally have seen a million times. Those are the ones where I'm like, wow, we're This is taking a while. But if you're a member, that's a good sign for you because that shows we'll go on to get your questions answered. We'll spend the time.
We did a marathon last week, but it was good. I mean, it was really good. And honestly, I appreciated the member feedback because they were giving me input on how to design some graphics and stuff that would make it better for them to be able to sell more and clearer, as far as the different products and the solutions. So that was really cool.
Yeah.
And it's a great little tight-knit little family there that shows up on a regular basis. And so, not all of our members come to the training, much to our chagrin. And a little inside joke, not a joke, but inside baseball, sometimes, a lot of times, we have tickets that come in that have been covered multiple times in live trainings that we've been doing. And so if here's the other thing, those live trainings are recorded. And a lot of the ones I've been doing during the week at 3:00, they're actually put out for the public on YouTube.
Yep.
It's not even a private training, even though it's,
which I know a lot of people can't make.
Because we know people can't make
the time. What you can do, though, the same number that we mentioned earlier, I can pull it up here. If you want to text your questions to us, we take them on the podcast a lot of times, especially if it's a good question. We feel like everyone would get value from it. But if it's a more training-centered question, it's more about the technical side of it, we're not going to do that on a podcast like this because we got a lot of listeners that, to be quite frank, don't care.
True.
But if you want us to answer it and kind of help you out, you can send those questions to our chatbot at terrywilson3.com or text us at 864-507-9696. And if it's a membership training question, just let us know in the ticket, like, hey, I'd love this covered on the membership training, and we can kind of help you out there.
Absolutely, we can do that. And so a lot of trainings in the public. If you're a member, there's trainings out there on YouTube. There's trainings in your back office. There's weekly trainings that I'm doing right now because I do realize the app is new, and it just takes some time getting it under your belt as far as the way it works. So a lot of good stuff. Very thankful this year. I know that we've had a few members call in their thanks, and we've already played that. But here at the end of the show, I just want to say on behalf of the boys here in the Wilson household, we are thankful for all our members. We appreciate every single one of you guys. You are part of the family, and you guys have made a dream for us come true, where we get to sit back like a bunch of goofballs here in a room and talking to Mike and make a living, doing it simultaneously. But it's because of you guys. And so we just want to say thank you for using our products, our training, and continuing to be great representatives of what we're building here and have been building and where we're going in 2022. I'll tell you, with this new app, Reagan, there's going to be a lot of markets that we've never been able to service before that we're going to be able to offer.
Yeah, the landscape's a lot more open now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of places to take what we do. Before, I wouldn't say we were limited before, but
it's just a clearer path.
Yeah, it's just clearer. We've got more tools and better training on those tools.
Yes.
So it's just more available for everybody.
Fun times ahead. This is a great time, and this is typically the biggest season at TW3 is this last quarter. So if you've been thinking about, hey, when's a good time to start a home-based business? Right now. Because this is where things really start ramping up because people are getting ready for the first of the year, really wanting to make an impact. You got insurance guys out there looking for tools to generate leads. You've got people looking for a side hustle to earn extra income in the holiday season. It's just all of these different needs in business start converting right now. And so if you wanted to be in a solutions-based business to where you're helping a market grow, this is the time to be in that kind of business. So fun time at TW3, great stuff in 2022 that we're looking forward to. And on behalf of my family and all of TW3, we want to say be safe, have happy holidays, and whatever you do, try your best, even in the worst of times, to somehow find a way of being thankful and offering gratitude, because it will inevitably help you more than anything else. An attitude of gratitude, as Zig says, always takes you to new altitudes. Till next time, this is Terry with TW3.
Thank you for listening to our show today at terrywilson3.com.
Get a free sample copy of the book You Are Worth More by going to terrywilson3.com now.
If you would like more information on how we can take your money, business and your life to the next level, then please visit us online at terrywilson3.com.